Greetings, everyone. This is Phil Amerson again with the To Be and Do podcast. And today I am, thrilled, delighted to have my friend Robert Allen Hill, who's the Dean of Marsh Chapel, and he's professor of New Testament and Pastoral Theology at Boston University School of Theology. And I've got a bio of you that could go on for 7 pages, but, I think that's enough for now, and I want you to know that I'm wearing IU colors. I know you're at Boston University, so, uh, it's the other Boston college that has a football team, I think, but
That's
I'm gonna
right.
take this off because I'm a fan of football, but not of academic freedom at Indiana University, and I welcome someone who is a remarkable preacher, pastor, theologian, New Testament scholar, Bob Hill. Welcome, Bob.
Gracious. Honored to be with you, Phil.
So you've been at Marsh Chapel now. I realize you're heading into year 20 or you're there already.
We came through our 20th Christmas this past December, and it seems like it's been but a day. It's gone by so wonderfully, and what a privilege, what a set of privileges to be here and now to talk to my dear friend of many decades, the Reverend Dr. Phil Amerson.
Uh,
Sorry.
no problem. I just, I want you to know that, well, we have 14 inches of snow in Bloomington and more coming. And most Sundays, Elaine and I will say, well, since we can't go out, where do we want to hear good preaching today? And so I want you to know that you're usually number 1 or 2 if we can get the recording, and, thank you for your good ministry. I think folks might be interested in knowing a little bit about university chaplainship, and I know you're a multifaith university, lots of resources given to various traditions. Talk a little bit about that work as dean of the chapel.
Well, and thank you. And Phil, Sunday comes around every 7 days. I'm not sure we talked about this recently. And we have the privilege to lead guide a service of worship at Marsh Chapel for the globe, for the nation, for the city, etc., and also for the university, including faculty, staff, and students. And I'm very grateful for the privilege of this venerable and historic pulpit, which is um, a leading pulpit in Methodism, as you know, and you've been here more than once and graced us in that pulpit with your voice and presence, and for that I'm very, very thankful. You and I met at Hennepin Avenue, if memory serves, at Hennepin Avenue United Methodist Church in October of 1995.
Wow.
I saw Hennepin on the news last
Yes.
week. I was proud of them. Speaking of great pulpits, Bloomington certainly also. And anyway, so
Well, Hennepin, I've been pleased to watch what's unfolding there. I don't know if you knew, but last Sunday, the pastor couldn't preach because she was in jail.
I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
saw her on the screen, but not that. Okay.
and I'm embarrassed I can't call her name right now. I should know her. But they had it arranged so Tim Eberhart would step in if she was not available. So I think she was arrested with 100 other clergy
Mm, mm,
there.
mm.
It's remarkable. I have thought maybe this current administration has underestimated what it means to go into a place like Minneapolis,
Mhm.
where it's not just the faith tradition, but community organizing and just a sense of what I love best are the singing resistance groups.
Yeah,
Just
that's the Methodist in you, Phil.
that's right. That's right. I think if I weren't a Methodist, I would be a Mennonite just because of the singing.
Can't blame you there.
So, how many faith groups do you, work with there at Boston University?
So we have a dozen chaplaincies that are self-funded, basically, Roman Catholics and the Hillel community, etc. And then we have another 30 religious life subgroups that are guided by, or
Wow.
groups that are guided by campus ministers, and my chaplains and my director give coordination, guidance, and oversight to all of those folks. It's a it's a wonderful privilege to be in the heart of this kind of interreligious, interfaith engagement, and I'm steadily, hourly grateful for it. There are some dust ups, here and there. Not everybody
Yeah,
agrees with everybody about everything, but okay.
yeah, yeah. Well, I know that is it 19 books you have now published?
Yes, and if you count the second edition of Daniel Marsh's book on Marsh Chapel, we'll make it an even 20, although it's
How
sort of
about
a
it?
lie.
Well, we'll leave information on the blog site where they can, get these, but what what I appreciate so much, Bob, is the way you and I both have watched mainline Christianity shift over the course of our career, and, while we can grumble a lot, we also see little sparks of hope here and there, and, where do you see hope today for the future of Christianity? Maybe it won't be in the old mainline patterns, but talk a bit about that.
Two quick responses. I know you would uh, affirm and honor and agree. Sunday comes every 7 days. And where there is a fine sermon, doesn't have to be show, showy, but a fine sermon, 22 minutes of hope and honesty. That's a remarkable thing every week. And I hope those who are engaged with this conversation and are laboring to provide that preaching moment take some encouragement from others who appreciate what they're doing quietly and steadily. And so the other is try and keep this brief, but brevity is not my strong suit. But here we go. This We have 24 inches of snow here in 1966 at age 11 in Hamilton, New York, home of Colgate. There was a 2-week blizzard where the
Mhm.
11-year-olds spent 2 weeks in snow forts and throwing snowballs at each other, so so forth and so on. That year in the spring, at the dinner table in our parsonage, my father was the minister there. There were some strange words that came along, like district superintendent and bishop and appointment and move. And I didn't really pay attention, except then I realized we were moving to another town, not very far. And I somehow fell ill. I was lackadaisical. I just couldn't get out of pajamas, and my mother put up with my uh, back activities, and I just didn't do very well. And then after a while, 8, 10 days, our sixth grade teacher, Marjorie Schaefer, knocked on the door. She read to us every morning. We were reading The Hobbit.
Oh,
She said, I came over because I know how much you enjoy this book, and we're about halfway through and you're missing it. And so I'm going to read to you.
wow.
She came one day, and then she came another. And you know what? I began to feel better. By that long-winded mode, I'm trying to say that along with, as you well know, very well know, along with just working at the preaching. A dozen or a couple dozen visits like Marjorie Schaefer made in our home make all the difference. I know there's a lot else in ministry, and I know that the challenges of the churches, but it's encouraging to me to see people at 11 o'clock on Sunday, whether we have a number on the live stream, but who lumber off the subway, the T, and come into church or come over from their dorm room or drive in and park, and you know the setting, and they come, sing the hymns of faith, and are gracious to one another, and can help each other, especially in grief. I heard somebody, a good person, talking about grief the other day from, it was at a university meeting, and she talked about lighting a candle, and she talked about reading a poem, and she talked about being quiet, all of which are wonderful. But she didn't say a single word about being in community, of having grief in common. For grief to be born, to be carried, it needs that community, as you well know.
Well,
So
part of what I think is underestimated is the work of the academic community in helping us expect excellence in preaching. And I know when I was a pastor in a couple of university settings, it caused me to up my game.
sure, and I
And
remember the Bloomington pulpit very well, excuse me.
yeah, you were there.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you know the work of Theda Skopal, Skopal? I believe she was at Yale and now is at Cornell, and she's written on the loss of democracy.
Mm,
And just beneath the threads a few times, she talks about faith communities. And, what she has spoken of fits also, I think, the dilemma of mainline churches. She says there has been a move over the last generation away from membership toward management, and that many in leadership have thought the answer to denominational decline means we just need to have more leaders in control
and
rather
more meetings. Couldn't we have
than
more
more
meetings?
meetings. I think
Yeah,
there's some truth in that, and I think it goes back to your pointing to the importance of those 22 minutes on Sunday morning
or
and whether or not there's a sense of connection there. Um, why do you think BU has continued to have a stronger, in my view, a stronger link to the academic community than many other universities that used to have pretty vibrant, chaplaincies?
yeah, we don't have quite as much, company along the trail here. A few places continue, but Marsh has been able to thrive, as you say, in a time when the church itself is waning period. Part of that is the history of the university, and if I may say, its Methodist roots.
Mm.
Part of it, well, there are any number of reasons, but in the New England area and beyond, and then here in Boston, the voice of Marsh Chapel, and then in Methodism, partly because of the number of international students we have who carry us with them when they go back to Africa or wherever, have kept us moving. We talk about Howard Thurman, one of the reasons I came to this pulpit, and Martin Luther King, and so on, and they're very important. Our wonderful new young president, Melissa Gilliam, evoked them last evening, and they're crucial. And yet, you don't get to those examples without the vibrant freedom of Methodism over a couple hundred years. It gave birth to Boston University and other fine schools, Ohio Wesleyan comes to mind, uh, and, um, and including here. So the chapel, which we celebrated the 75th anniversary of its dedication this autumn, and it was built to a fare thee well with a fine-tooth comb by Daniel Marsh, who put everything he had, and it's the fourth president of the university. And it's right at the heart of the campus, and if, well, and is, tries to live that, heartbeat fully, and, we do better some Sundays than others, but and we're grateful for that privilege. So I'm glad for the heritage of King and Thurman and others, but it's you don't get there without all who came before and that vibrant Methodist combination of deep personal faith and active social involvement.
Yeah. Knowledge and piety and activism. So we're going to step off of this, recording and do another one, but before we leave, um, what will you be preaching and thinking about in the weeks ahead? I wanna encourage people to think about joining you online, especially if they've got 14 inches of snow in their backyard.
Very briefly, I'll go from last Sunday, and then it goes forward. I find it very difficult to find ways to encourage our folks to be both brutally honest about where we are in this
Right.
country and unflinchingly hopeful. So that combination of honesty and hope is where the preaching is, I hope, going um, this this spring, this Lent, and so on. The unfortunate condition of the country with a president who is so predatory, so mendacious, so cruel, and those are many would agree and then add to the list, makes it incumbent upon, among others, civil society, including the church, including especially the pulpits of the church, to be brutally honest about what has happened to us and continues to and will, but also to carry an abiding sense of hope. And they don't go together. In some ways, they're at daggers drawn. They're the opposite, and we're trying to provide that.
Wow, what a wonderful word. Brutally honest and yet immersed in hope. Bob Hill, Dr. Robert Allen Hill, the Dean of Marsh Chapel and professor at Boston University School of Theology. We're going to talk to Bob again in the next episode, but let me just end this by thanking you, my friend.
You're welcome.
Good to visit.
Good to be with you, Phil.